Today's session will be covering our consumer bank account checker. This is a way that you can validate a client's bank account by providing the information into our system. This is then checked via Experian to validate those accounts. One of the primary uses of this is if you're going to be transferring large amounts of monies to a client, you're able to then validate the source of funds from them. And when you're transferring, you're able to do numerous due diligence checks. Not only is this an evidenced due diligence, we provide you with a report for you to store. This is also a way for you to check different sections of the client's information that they're providing and ensuring that not only is it an existing bank account, but the account ownership type matches, that the address and age and date of birth of that client matches the account, and also we have introduced for CQS protocols that the account has actually got a badge on there to say whether it is over 12 months or not. So we have a risk indicator factor when you're looking at these reports, and essentially this is a traffic light system. So as I'll explain that shortly in terms of what those reports look like, but essentially this is the product that we encourage to use when you're transferring any money to a client. Not only is it £2.50 plus VAT, it's also something you can include in a client care letters to pass that cost on. So it's a cost efficient way for the firms to be able to get this information. And it's much faster than actually having to call the client, confirm their details with them over the phone and have to do other things such as attendance notes and things like that. For your time, the £2.50 plus VAT is just a minuscule amount compared to the time it takes and the money you'd spend actually conducting these checks yourself in a different way. So I'm just going to go over first of all how to submit this check, so how you put that into our system, and then what the results look like. You get these results via email and they come back straight away. So with this, it goes through to Experian, checks and validates the information and brings a report back to you. So to do this, as with all of our searches, you click on Perform Search. In terms of the system usage, just at the top up here, anything that's highlighted in blue, you can click on that and you can see your search history. And that's just a way of you being able to retrieve any old searches that you've done. And admin can see everybody's, but as an individual, you can just see your own. So you click on Perform Search. Then you're entering in some information about the client. So the first things you're entering is the client's name, date of birth, the home address. That is all the information about the client that will be checked against the type of the account. So we'll be checking that one, it exists, but two, this information matches this account. So it's important that all this information is accurately entered into the system. You've then got the client's bank account. So you're entering in their account number and sort code and the ownership type, whether it's joint or single account. And again, accuracy is key here, because what you don't want to do is put a typographical error and get what would be essentially an incorrect report, because the information would not match, or in a worst case you might get an account that says it doesn't exist, and that's possibly because you've put the account information in incorrectly. You then got to do the case reference, and that just goes on your invoice. So we just recommend putting in whatever your internal case reference is for that, and that will come up on your invoice as well. Once you've entered this information, you're then just going to click on Submit, and that will send all the information back over to Experian, and then that will create a report for you shortly. So within a couple of minutes, you then retrieve the report via email. When you're entering in this information as well, it's important to note that for starters, we can only do bank accounts within the UK. So it has to be a UK account. Can't be anything overseas, because there's just different allowances for that and being able to check those accounts. So we can do UK only. If you get for any reason unable to check, you won't get charged for those, because that just means purely that Experian do not hold that data. And although that they add millions of accounts and it's regularly updated every Friday, there are some instances where perhaps a consumer has opted out of sharing that information, where they're unable to retrieve those. So if you do get one of those, unfortunately, they are unable to assist with that particular client. So it would be a case of having to revert back to your current method that you use in that service. But as I say, that's on a small number of searches. Majority will give you this result back. So when you're ready with that, then you'll get your email. and it'll have the result on there for you. So just to interpret, first of all, as I mentioned earlier, we do use what we call a traffic light response on here. So green is a positive, so green is good, amber is consider, and red is a negative. So red is usually something that is a red flag on your report that you need to address. And a lot of this is going to be checking the information you've entered as well. So first of it will be what the results are, and if there's anything negative on there, checking the information that you've entered is the first port of call, just in case something has been entered incorrectly, because as I say, that would cause a negative on a report that actually is incorrect. So you've got at the top of the information, top of your report, you've got the information that you've entered. The reason why that's really helpful is when you do a comparison of what you've entered and the scores, you're actually able to see then what is likely caused perhaps a lower score or a match or no match result. So the first section is the account check. That is saying that the account details match an existing bank account. That is just a match or no match result. So that is a yes, it matches to an existing account, or no, this account does not exist. We've then got the ownership check. So is that a joint or single account? So does that match or does that not match? And again, match, no match, it matches the single account or it doesn't, whichever you've entered in. Then you've got the personal details check and the address check, and those are scored. And the reason for that is because the information is entered may have slight differences in the information Experian hold. And that's typically going to be on, if it's ever going to come up, it's generally on the address score. And you can see for this one that the address score is actually 7 out of 9. And the recommendation on that is just to say it's a highly probable match. The minor details are missing or partly wrong, and so we recommend you check the details searched. And typically beforehand at this point, you know, as you're transferring funds, you've already got client address details on file and you've got things on record to show their full address, such as a bank statement, for instance. And when you're doing that kind of thing, you're able actually to then confirm what the address is actually. So this one has got a farm cottage, it's got a postcode, it's got a street address, but actually it doesn't say where this is. So it doesn't say, for instance, Cheshire or North Wales or anything in that section. And that might just be where it is that it's missing and it's not matching the actual address held by Experian because it's not a full match for that reason. Well, it could be anything in terms of personal details as well. So if it's something to do with personal details, that could well be a typographical error, but typically the report will highlight to you what that refers to, just so you can actually then see and check the details. And the essential advice on all of this is if anything is incorrect, first of all, check the details you've entered. And that's why we provide a lot of them at the top for you to review. And that is, again, just so you're able to see that information and compare it and see if there's anything that is an obvious typographical error, for instance. And the final thing we've got then is the account setup date check. So it says there that the green badge, that is an account that relates to, that is older than 12 months. An account that is less than 12 months may be an amber badge. That means it's been open last year, but actually it's not over that 12-month barrier yet. So it has been open for some time, but not enough to be over that 12 months to make it green. And a red account is one that's really new account. So again, in terms of risk and calculated risk, when you're reviewing these, when you're looking at these, anything negative, we do just recommend speaking to your corporate COFA in terms of making that final decision. Obviously, you'd like to see all it being green, but sometimes if it's not green, we recommend just checking the information and then doing that kind of using this as a due diligence and a risk assessment at the same time. Obviously, at any point you can contact ourselves, you can contact myself, my email, you can contact your key relationship manager, or you can contact the support address as well. So there's lots of people at the business that you can contact and get some more information about these results if you're not sure. But typically the advice is going to be to review the details and to speak to the corporate COFA. In terms of this, as I say, it's an evidence due diligence process, so it is really important that these are carried out. It doesn't matter how much money it is, how little it is in that amount, because actually what you're doing is providing due diligence to say that you have done these checks, anti-fraud checks, and making sure this money is not going to fraudsters, making sure this money is safe for your clients. And it's just a really helpful process to have in place. And with a lot of these things, we recommend doing it on every transaction. One, it's a very minor cost to take, and two, it's a cost that is worth it in terms of keeping your business protected as much as possible against these fraudsters who are active. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a lovely day.